Service is one of the most visible ways we as Christians show who Jesus is to the world. Throughout the New Testament, Christ's life creates a roadmap for how his people can help bring the kingdom of heaven a little bit closer through service to others. Jesus teaches us very tangible ways to serve the vulnerable and marginalized. Literal ways like feeding the hungry and healing the sick, and less explicit ways like crossing social divides to equip and empower a woman to share her story, or holding the church accountable for perpetuating injustice against the poor and marginalized. He shows us humility and caring when he humbles himself to wash the feet of the men he walked with. And he teaches us hospitality and generosity when he turns water into wine and brings the party to a wedding. All this is service, and time and again, we see that part of being a little more like Christ involves meeting the needs of others in ways that are both miraculous and mundane. Service is a core spiritual practice here at Bethany, in what we call a rule of life. We believe that as followers of Jesus, our mission in this world is to embody Christ, to make the invisible God visible in word and in deeds. Here at our church, we embody those deeds through our local and global partnerships. Locally, we serve our unhoused neighbors living blocks from where we meet and help newly arrived refugees find a foothold in our city. Our foster and adopt programs support vulnerable families in our community, and our school mentors provide impactful adult role models in young kids' lives. Globally, we support especially at-risk children and families. We help people gain access to economic sustainability through agricultural development and participate in the reconciliation and rebuilding of communities after genocide. Service has played a huge role in my life personally. From a young age, my father instilled in my sisters and I a strong foundation that even with little money, we had a responsibility and opportunity to serve. When I was in high school, this looked like volunteer days at food banks, homeless shelters, and outreach centers. Later, when I was just starting out my career and time and money was tight, it was packing a second lunch every day for a woman who lived in the alley behind my office. When life was stable and I didn't have kids, I served on committees, did the accounting books for nonprofits, and orchestrated large drives and big event fundraisers. It is crazy all the ways God can and will use our very specific gifts to serve others. A few years later, when my husband and I started our family and time became really precious, our service was writing checks to several organizations and having a weekly play date with a refugee family. It was just visiting for a couple of hours over coffee, helping them read their mail and feel welcome to our community. That also allowed us to get out of the house. And as my kids grew and the fog of babyhood cleared, I got to step into that ministry further and help grow the refugee ministry at our church and explore other serving opportunities. As my life grows and my circumstances ebb and flow, God is always there, revealing new ways I can serve others. Over the years, I have come to appreciate that service is a privilege. It's not something I do begrudgingly or as a chore. Rather, service is an invitation by God to simply be myself in participation with what Christ is doing in the world. When I look back, I can see so many ways that the lives of those I have served have in fact served me. In this way, practicing service has become an integral part of who I am and the communities I belong to. And right now, in another unprecedented time in my life, service has morphed again through social distancing. Service is writing letters of encouragement, sewing masks, feeding neighbors in need, and sending goods and prayers to protect some of the most vulnerable we serve. New ways, every day, I am invited to participate with Christ in bringing the kingdom of heaven just a little bit closer. Though service may look different at each phase and stage of our lives, or even at the different phases and stages of what the world is experiencing, the call is still the same and the message remains. We, as God's people, get to embody the presence of Christ in the midst of brokenness, whether that is material, social, or spiritual. We get to feed the hungry, to stand against injustice, to empower the vulnerable, and to serve the marginalized. Wherever we are, in life or location, we can get involved with service. So what does service look like where you are right now? Does it exist? If not, what are some small ways you could incorporate it into your spiritual practice? Can you write a letter of encouragement? Mow an elderly neighbor's lawn? Volunteer at your local food bank or school? Or call your congressperson to stand up for the vulnerable and underrepresented? All around us, every day, there are small and big ways, easy and hard ways, that we can walk into this calling. Maybe you need help finding out what that looks like. If you're at Bethany or here in Seattle, reach out to us. If you're somewhere else, contact your local church to find out what needs there are in your community and how you can get involved. Wherever you are, God has a way and a place for you to serve.